All right, let's turn attention to other stories now. Inflation in Nigeria has risen to the 10th for the 10th consecutive month in December, and that's according to a recent report by the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS). So the country's consumer price index increased by 18.55% year-on-year last month, which was 0.07% higher than the rate in November.
The index is calculated using a market basket of goods and services. In fact, actually, that's not the consumer price index. What we have there is the inflation rate, but the summation of that is what you have as the inflation rate. But breaking it down as the consumer price index, what we have is about 213 point something percent. But we'll get to that. The NBS said the increases were recorded in all categories of products and services.
Now, the highest increase was seen in housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels category, which rose by 27.27%. Meanwhile, prices for clothing and footwear rose by 21.62%. All right, we have two gentlemen who will be joining us to look at this and, more importantly, to define a way forward for us. Joining us on Skype all the way from the UK is a financial analyst, Johnson Chukwu. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Gazi.
And Happy New Year again. Now, also joining us right here in the studio is Chief Research Officer at Invest Data, Ambrose Omordion. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, let me start with you, Johnson. Surely the task of taming the rising inflation cannot be left to the Central Bank of Nigeria alone. There is a need for serious complementary fiscal policy, of course, that coming from the side of government, wouldn't you say?
Well, actually, the inflationary pressure is not coming from central bank. It's not coming from as a result of excess liquidity in the system. It's actually coming from structural challenges in the economy. And those structural challenges can only be solved by the fiscal authorities. There's little the central bank can do by stocking up liquidity in the banking system to reduce the inflation rate, because the inflation rate is not driven by liquidity overhang. And if it's not driven by liquidity overhang, you're not going to solve it by stocking up liquidity of the system. The key things we have, if you look at the source of inflationary pressure, you mentioned the issue of increase across all the commodity prices. You talked about the inflation in energy costs. Today, the price of kerosene, which is a household fuel source, is going for about 240 naira. That will impact on the cost of goods and services. The price of fuel, landing cost of fuel, is certainly above the 145 naira mark that the PPMC has indicated. So you find out that, look, the structural challenge you have with cost of transportation, energy cost, exchange rate, which pass-through effect has affected virtually the price of goods and services, are nothing the central bank can solve alone. They are largely going to be driven by solutions from the fiscal authorities.
Okay, Odion, what's your take on that? Do you believe it's a structural factor, this inflation that we have?
Yeah, it's part of it, but I will tell you that what we have today is not a result of policy from either CBN alone or monetary policy. It has part to do with the fiscal policy. But in the history of Nigeria, starting from 1996, where we had the highest inflation rate of about 42, to date, we have an average interest growth, inflation rate about 12.26 on average. But in 2016, it moved from 9.6 to as high as 18.55. That means in a year we have about 100% growth in inflation, which is huge. I know it's not as a result of because the CBN is not doing enough, or because we are in recession as a result of it, it's part of it. But the government needs to see down both the monetary and the fiscal policy to look at the system. There are some structural areas that need to be fixed before we can control our inflation rate. But the CBN has a major role to stabilize price. But CBN is overdoing it, trying to use interest rate, exchange rate, and inflation to take decisions. In anywhere in the economy or anywhere in the world, CBN cannot control interest rate, inflation rate, and exchange rate at once. But here in Nigeria, our CBN want to control the three at once. That's why they are having problem. They need to leave the inflation to be on its own. Control your interest rate and the exchange rate. That will naturally bring the inflation down. Because in Nigeria, when you say inflation, it's a result of over-liquidity in the system or cost-push inflation. In Nigeria, we are experiencing cost-push inflation. And if you are to be, let's say, for example, we're having liquidity push inflation, the companies that are listed in Nigeria will run into problem. But why? Because if it's liquidity put inflation, even when you increase your price of goods, people have money to buy such goods. The company will be making money. Automatically, their stock.
Now there's no liquidity really.
I'm coming. No, when they are making money and their stock will be going, because at the end of the day, post good result, you see that their price of equities will be going up. There are people say that equity market is here to edge against inflation. But that case, because your price is going up, you can now sell stock at high price. You are making money. Inflation will not affect your investment. But in this case,
we'll have to cut you there. Of course, there's a lot more time for you to make those points. We'll take a very quick break at this point and return talking about inflation rate in Nigeria. All right, we're looking at Nigeria's spiking inflation rate that stands somewhere around 18.55%, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Of course, by February, we should be getting the new figures. I wonder what that would be. This government believes that Nigeria will come out of recession this year, and inflation, of course, is one of the major indices that will tell us if indeed we will come out of it
Are you buying
sooner
your
than
bag
later.
of rice cheaper than you bought
No,
it 2 months ago?
It's more expensive. I don't even
What
think
about
of
the
rice
transport
anymore.
fare? Is it cheaper now?
It's way through the
Even
sky.
as a layman, you can forecast what the inflation rate will be for next month.
And of course, the service sector seems to be taking a downturn. I wonder what that indicates for us as we move forward. But of course, these are the issues we're looking at this morning. More importantly, we really want to find solutions. Our guest is Johnson Chukwu of Kari Assets. He is joining us via Skype all the way from London. And of course, Ambrose Omodion is head researcher, Invest Data. He's been looking at this with us on the show. All right, before we go further, let's tell you more about this. Nigeria's inflation rate accelerated for the 11th straight month to the highest since October 2005, as prices continue to rise for housing, electricity, and food.
Let's see the trend of inflation in the last 7 months of 2016. Inflation reached up to 15.6% in May. That's about a 1.9% point in excess of the previous month, when it stood at 13.7%. In June, consumer prices surged by 16.5% year-on-year, following a 15.6% jump in May. Figures came above market expectations of 16.3% increase, mostly driven by a sharper rise in cost of food, housing, and utilities.
Now, moving into July, consumer prices jumped by 17.1% year-on-year, compared to market expectation of 17.2% rise. Now, looking at August, consumer prices rose by 17.6%, following a 17.1% gain in July. In September, inflation went up by 17.9%, following a 17.6% rise in August, in line with market expectations.
The trend continued in October as the inflation rate skyrocketed to 18.3%. And for November, consumer prices increased by 18.48% year-on-year in November, from 18.3% recorded in October. It is 0.15% points higher than the figure recorded in October. That's talking about month-on-month now. Now, latest report by the National Bureau of Statistics, MBS rather, shows that consumer price index increased by 18.55% year-on-year in December 2016.
All right, and this figure is 0.07% points higher from the rate recorded in November. The NBS report attributed the increase to a rise in the price of electricity, housing, water, clothing, footwear, and education. Etc., especially in January, when kids are having to go back to school and parents are really feeling the crunch. Now to you, Johnson Chukwu. Our guest in the studio here, Ambrose, says government should really truly hands off inflation and stick to interest rate and exchange rate. Would you recommend the same as the way forward?
Well, I will approach it slightly, not necessarily disagreeing with his position, but slightly from a different perspective. You see, what is happening today, like I mentioned earlier, is that the inflation pressure we have in the country is not driven by excess liquidity in the banking system. So trying to take out the excess liquidity in the banking system by adopting high interest rates will not solve the problem. And again, the second factor you have to look at that, look, the economy is in a recession. We are talking of an economic contraction of 2.44% in the first quarter of the year. So you are talking of an economic contraction the entire 2016. So the question you ask yourself is that what should be the priority of the government, both the monetary authorities and the fiscal authorities? The key priority should be to reflate the economy, to restore growth. And if you have to restore growth, you have to allow liquidity back into the system. And that liquidity will come in form of lower interest rates. So what you now need to do is that you have to look at what do you want to fight. Is it inflation rate or is it economic recession? If you ask me, my choice would have been let's fight economic recession. Let's drop interest rate. You're going to have a cost. The cost will be a higher inflation rate. But we have a high inflation rate and we're not having growth. So we're actually having stagflation. So you need to break that cycle. And that would be by injecting liquidity, by doing conventional things, injecting liquidity in a period where you have high inflation rate. Because that's the only way you can restore economic growth. Overall, in the medium term, when the economy begins to grow and productivity improves, inflation will moderate. But you cannot be fighting inflation at the same time when you have an economic recession. And talking about liquidity that will be available for the private sector to invest and restore economic growth. Priority of the government today should be how to restore economic growth, both the monetary authorities and fiscal authorities. And if they have to do that, they have to let go the hand they are trying to hold on inflation and rather stimulate liquidity to the economy so as to allow the private sector to borrow at lower rates and invest in productive activities.
But do you see the CBN poised towards that? It's a good solution you've preferred there, but do you see the CBN poised towards that direction right now?
And you could see that in the past couple of months, the CBN and fiscal authority have been pulling in different directions. Attempt by the fiscal authorities to inject liquidity to the economy has been counterbalanced by the sucking up of liquidity by the monetary authorities. And I did hear the Minister of Finance in some of her comments, even the President in budget speech made allusion to the fact that we're going to achieve some level of harmony between the fiscal authorities and the monetary authorities. I think it is a duty of the monetary economic management team of the federal government, led by the Vice President, to achieve that harmony so that the CBN and the fiscal authorities will be pulling in the same direction.
Indeed. And of course, talking about inflation, the higher the inflation, the higher unemployment you get. And then, of course, purchasing power goes down and lower output and all of that. So how can this vicious cycle be broken? Johnson just touched on that briefly now.
Yes, I just said earlier that the government at this point need to come with the monetary policy to sit down and restructure the whole policies. I said that they should hands off inflation. We should look at interest rates and the exchange rate. Most of the factors, impacting our inflation is part of cost push and imported, inflation. Cost of bringing it into Nigeria is high because of the exchange rates. And when they come to this economy, they want to sell high because of the cost of importation. Goods produced in Nigeria, because of high cost of production, they want to sell at a high price. And there is no liquidity in the system for people to have it, because when people are unemployed, they're not having access to funds. How would they buy such goods? Then for us to solve this problem at this point, what CBN need to do is let's hands off inflation. Let's look at interest rate and and the exchange rate. On these two, if your interest rate is down, automatically will have more flow of funds into the economy. People, both private sector and the government will have funds to play around. That means companies that are dying before can revitalize and come back to production, start employing people start earning. As they earning, they can now purchase one or two. What I feel like we are refueling the economy in that direction. On that note, so that activities start coming up where you have contraction in the economy because as a result of high interest rate, high inflation rate, and high exchange rate. On that note, we can't go anywhere. To come back to progress line or in an upward direction, we need to leave the inflation for interest and exchange rate to control.
To determine.
Then on that, we have funds to play around. And on that, as I said earlier, that companies that are listed on Nigeria Stock Exchange will have access to funds. And you that are buying those stocks, because you see that there's activities and they're making money, their shares will be going up, their earnings will be going up. On that note, people want to invest. But now, because there's no money, nobody's investing. That's why I see market to go up today, the next day is down, because everybody is afraid of what the next move of the market, because there's no fund in the system. Okay,
let's bring Johnson Chukwu in here. Johnson, let's talk about the exchange rate. This is a country where you have different exchange, multiple really, 5, 6, 7, even up to 11 different exchange rates going on. And the CBN is there priding itself as a regulator, really. And the 2017 budget is predicated at 305, really, as we speak. Is that feasible with that work?
Well, interestingly, I share the opinion of the Minister of Finance during her presentation to the House Committee that the 305 should somehow mirror the strength of the Nigerian economy. But the challenge we have is that because we have managed some of these policies in fits, we have created a situation where the investing public has lost confidence in the Nigerian local currency. And therefore, they've been flight to safety of people moving, those who have the capacity to move their money out of the country, moving their money out of the country. We've seen a situation where foreign portfolio investors investment has almost dried up. So what we have, if we're able to restore confidence in the economy, the exchange rate should not be more than 350. But unfortunately, once you have confidence punctured, investors will be ready to buy at any price to safeguard their assets. And that is what has happened. But to address that, we now need to restore liquidity into the FX market. And unfortunately, the central bank does not have the muzzle. They don't have the war chest to restore liquidity into the Nigerian economy, FX liquidity in the Nigerian economy. So the fiscal authority has come in. It's either government has borrowed in the short term from international monetary authorities like multilateral agencies, IMF, World Bank, or our bilateral partners like China, US, UK, or in the alternative, we need to also find some idle assets, some assets that today are not productive and sell them. But certainly we need to source for liquidity outside the banking system to restore liquidity in the FS market and help moderate the exchange rate, and possibly have the different exchanges merge into some level of unity.
Looking at those foodstuff there, it's quite interesting. But thank you so much, Johnson Chukwu, financial analyst and CEO, Carry Assets Management. Thank you so much for joining us on the issue this morning. And of course, Ambrose Omodion, Head Research, Invest Data. Thanks for your insights and, of course, your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
there's a lot more coming your way on TVC Breakfast. We'll be looking at the Senate and its plans for 2017. Stay with us.